Welcome back to day 3. I am so proud of you for sticking this out. You know, there's a lot of moms out there that sign up for these trainings. A lot of people do for anything, any workshops, any challenges, any trainings, but they don't even show up. They don't even watch the first day. So obviously they're not going to solve their problems, but you have actually stuck it out. Not only did you show up for day 1, but you also showed up yesterday for day 2. And now you're also going to be getting the whole map for what you need for your empowered birth with your birth plan. Because the truth is that the way that birth plans are being created is not going to help you to have a completely natural birth as naturally as possible. In fact, a lot of those templates and checklists, you download them at the end of your pregnancy. They're not going to help you as much as if you were to download them after this, after you've created your roadmap. You can use them. You can absolutely take them, but I wouldn't use them as a birth plan. What you want is you want to actually just get the list, because maybe there's 1 or 2 things on there that you might want that you hadn't thought of. Maybe when you take your birth education later, you're going to be like, you know what? Like there's something else on here that I didn't think of that I actually kind of want that lights me up. But now you're going to know that. You're not just going to take everything. You're not just going to try to piece together what a natural birth plan looks like. But if you don't have the template, it's okay. You can go get it after, because you're still going to be able to do this. You can still put these things into categories. What we're going to be doing today is actually creating the birth plan, because this is going to not only be your guide for when you hand it into your care provider at the end of your pregnancy, although I'm going to tell you more about that tomorrow. So stay tuned. Do not, under any circumstances, take this to your care provider or use this as your finalized plan until you know what else I'm going to be teaching you on days 4 and 5. Because without that, if you just use this as a typical birth plan, the way that you've always been taught to use birth plans, it's not going to work. Okay? It's not going to work. It's just going to be just another piece of paper that people look over. And it's not going to give you that sense that you don't have to fight, beg, compromise. You'll crumble under pressure. You'll give up. You'll give in. This is still powerful, though. So you need to have that as your map. It's your map. Remember that. If you didn't watch days 1 and 2, you're going to need to go back and watch that. Otherwise, what you're learning in this video is not going to make sense to you. Because this is what you need to have. You need to have your notebook from the last few days, or the loose leaf pieces of paper that you had written down all of your information. And you need to have a pen. You're also going to want to have your template. Or if you didn't have a printer, or you didn't print it off, or you don't have your template right now, all you need to know is 3 things, okay? You're going to write yes in one column. You're going to write neutral in another column, and you're going to write no in another column. Okay? That's what you're basically want to do. Before you fill out the template, you're going to want to do this, because this will allow you to fill out the template faster and easier once you have your yes, neutral, and no. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Okay. So why do typical birth plans not work? I talked about this a little bit on day 1 when I said that you're reading from a list of menu options. You're not actually getting what you want, and that you're trying to do all of the things that people say is going to lead to a natural birth, but you don't actually know why you want it. And it may not even be what you really want. You're just kind of compromising. It's not the menu you would have wanted. But, you know, all your friends are going to this restaurant and they're ordering stuff, and there's only one pasta dish on that menu that you really wanted, and everybody else has got burgers. So, like, you're compromising here by going to this burger restaurant already when you had this idea of what you wanted, but you know that that thing on that menu, it's definitely not their specialty. This is what you're doing when you just take a menu option for your birth plan. I also talked yesterday about how you don't want to use the no language. A lot of moms, they use the no language. No, 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 no episiotomy, no induction, no vaginal exams, no IV. And then the doctor says, well, actually it's policy. You have to have an IV. So you need to compromise with us and you need to have the IV lock at least. We need to have an open vein. If your care provider is telling you you need to have an open vein when your goal is to have a natural birth, they don't support natural birth. They don't know what it's like. They're already seeing that you have possibilities that they don't believe in your ability to birth without any intervention. If you say you don't want vaginal exams and they say, well, we need to have vaginal exams to be able to track your progress, they don't know natural birth because the fact is that your cervix is not a crystal ball. If they say that we have to do cord traction after the placenta is like for the placenta to be delivered or else you're going to hemorrhage, again, they don't know physiological birth. They don't understand it. Because if they did, they would absolutely not be doing cord traction. If you say you want delayed cord clamping and they say we only do it up to a minute because the blood is going to get siphoned out of the baby back into the placenta, I'm not joking here. There have been OBs who have said this to people. And like that was their argument as to why they could not leave the cord limp and just wait for all the blood to transfer to their baby. Now, I don't know if they actually believed that. Maybe they just made something up and thought it sounded smart and that the client would comply. But there is some really stupid things that doctors will say that they don't actually understand physiological birth at all. And maybe it's true. Maybe that's what they believe because they've never actually had that question answered before. And they're just assuming. Maybe they have a lot of fear. Or maybe they're just one of those people that is just going to say anything to get you to just do what they want. But you won't know until you do what I'm going to tell you in days 4 and 5 for how to use your birth plan. Because we're not just going to create our birth plan. We're not just going to hand our birth plan in. We're going to use our birth plan as a roadmap. So if you're already 30 weeks, I'm going to remind you again, you need to be sending me your homework because if you don't send me your homework, I can't help you get back on track. You're going to make some mistakes. You're probably already making them. You're probably already falling into some natural birth traps because you didn't have your roadmap figured out. You may think that your care provider supports the kind of birth you want. And this is what I hear from a lot of moms. They say, well, my care provider seems really nice and on board. And they say I can have a natural birth. But then they'll also tell me that their care provider prefers to do something that I know is a natural birth trap, that is going to lead exactly where the mom does not want to go. And not everybody works with me. Not everybody goes out and gets the additional training. Not everybody sits there and watches my videos that I put on my YouTube channel. They don't sit and watch them. I can drop them in. I can say, hey, watch this video. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do to get your birth. But if they don't watch it, it's not going to help them. And it's not going to help you if you don't go through this entire training. So I know you've already done a few days and you're like, I'm going to have my birth plan, but I'm going to tell you, you need to stick around for days 4 and 5. I'm sorry. I've seen this too many times to not warn you. Okay. If you don't follow the training, if you're not doing the exercises, I'm going to invite you again to make sure that you catch up and do these. And you'll wish that you'd taken the time now to do this challenge for this 1 week and taken that master class and to be able to get the birth you want without having to fight, beg, compromise, no crumbling under pressure, no giving up, no giving in. If you are still in your first trimester or early second trimester, you have more time. This is going to be more helpful for you to have your birth plan at the beginning of your pregnancy. And if you're not pregnant yet, but you're planning, or you're not pregnant yet and you're not sure if you want to get pregnant again because you had a traumatic experience, this is also going to help you because you're going to be able to gather a lot more information. You're going to be more prepared. You're going to be like Jenny, who was able to prepare months, even a year out from her pregnancy with her first baby and her traumatic birth experience. Like she had her traumatic birth in September. She found me in November of 2020. We worked together. We were building the Empowered Birth workshops. We were helping other moms through our programs. And then in the end, what happened is that she decided that even though she'd said to me way back in January of 2021, I don't think I'm ever going to have another baby again, but I just want to get healed. I want to know what happened to me. How do I take your classes? How do I support you in this? Let's get something going. And we brought other moms into it and we taught them. And she started to see that actually she had always wanted 2 kids. And the fact that she had this traumatic birth was just not fair. She deserved to be able to have her family as big as she wanted her family. And she wasn't going to let that traumatic birth stop her. So she said, I think in the next few years, I'm going to have another one. I said, awesome. And then by the next Empowered Birth workshop in November of 2021, she said, yeah, we're going to try right now. We're going to try and I'm having this baby. I'm getting pregnant. She got pregnant. We worked through. She ended up having an unassisted vaginal birth after cesarean in the hospital. And she had chronic high blood pressure. She had gestational diabetes. She was 41 years old. She'd had a previous C-section. She had preeclampsia after her baby was born. She had postpartum preeclampsia. Everything was against her. And she did this using the system and using this birth plan template. This is actually what she created. She created the birth plan template. I had a framework and I had something similar, but then she made it into this beautiful template and she brought that in to her care provider. And they're like, this is a very interesting birth plan. I've never seen a birth plan written this way. Because how are most birth plans written? Well, it's a long, long list. In fact, you've probably seen them in the mom groups. Moms, they write out these birth plans and it's like, here's what I want for labor. Here's what I want for birth. Here's what I want for breastfeeding. Here's what I want for my baby. Long, 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 long. If they've even got it that categorized. Some of them aren't even that categorized, but it's a long list. And it's a long list of what I told you yesterday you don't want to do. No episiotomy, no induction, no vaginal exams. No, 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 no. This, if medically necessary, not this, not this, not this, not this. Go back and watch day 2 if you need a refresher on why you don't want to do that. Okay? Jenny's was very simple. She had the list of the yes category for herself, the yes category for her baby. She had her neutral category, which is ask me and have a discussion on it. And this is the contingencies on when I would actually allow this. So she wanted to know what her hard lines in the sand were and what her pink lines in the sand were. The pink lines being something is coming up and we may need to deviate from the plan. Her major plan was her ideal birth scenario. Her ideal birth was a completely hands-off vaginal birth after cesarean in the hospital. And she was even open to giving birth in the car or at home. But she really wanted to be in the hospital. So she was like, when I feel like I can't stand it anymore, my doula and my partner and I were going to the hospital. I said, okay. And she picked her proper hospital. I'll tell you more about that in days 4 and 5. And she picked her right care provider. She had her right doula. She had her partner on board. And she was able to do this. Again, this is unheard of. A mom who's 41 years old, who had a previous C-section, gestational diabetes, group B strep, high blood pressure, and she managed to have a completely natural birth in the hospital where they don't even know how to do natural birth. They didn't know how to sit on their hands and the nurse did not know what to do. Yeah, she was able to do that. This nurse really wanted to do vaginal exams and blood tests and everything, but when Jenny had that birth plan, the nurse just followed what was on that birth plan, which is very little in the yes category of what Jenny wanted. Jenny wanted some monitoring for her blood pressure and she wanted monitoring for her baby. But because she got to the hospital at the end of her labor, baby was already in the birth canal. They couldn't pick up a heartbeat because baby was already coming on the way out. But the fact is that she's like, this is what I want. And this is what I'm open to. And this is what's absolutely a no. So that's what this birth plan template will do for you. And again, how do you do this? Okay. So If you've been doing your homework, which I hope you have, and if you haven't, you still have time to catch up and do your homework. Again, this birth plan template is not going to work for you if you don't do this. If you don't follow this framework, it's not going to work. It's not going to give you the birth you want without having to fight, beg, compromise. You're not going to be able to do it. Okay? You're going to take everything that you said you don't want. Okay? You're going to put that in the no category. You're going to put anything that you said that you would be open to if something deviated from your ideal plan. Like if there was something that came up where you could start to see that there was an emergency that could possibly happen, you're going to put that in your neutral category. Okay? Then you're going to take everything on your ideal birth plan, which you did on day 2. You're going to take all of that and you're going to put that in your yes category. Okay? Following me here? The next step after that, you're going to write some more categories. Okay? So you've got your one piece of paper with the yes, neutral, no. You've got your hard lines in the sand, what you absolutely do not want. These are the things that's like, unless it's life or death, unless I am bleeding to death, unless I am unconscious, unless my baby is actually going into distress at that very, very moment, not making it up, not saying your baby might go into distress. It's just like, this is serious. Like, knock me out and get this done. Those are your hard lines in the sand. Okay? So it's like, unless I go past 43 weeks and my baby is not showing any signs of like thriving anymore, I am not open to induction. I don't care if I hit 41 weeks. I am not inducing my labor just for that. If I have high blood pressure, but it's not to the point where it's dangerous, if it's not at this level, I am not inducing. I will monitor my blood pressure and I will do things that will allow me to navigate that so that I can reduce the risk to myself. This is what Jenny did. She had some extra education behind her on how to lower her blood pressure. If I have gestational diabetes, I am not inducing or changing my plan unless these conditions are in place. Those are your neutrals and your hard lines in the sand. You've got your pink lines and your hard lines in the sand. Under no circumstances are you giving me an episiotomy. I would rather have a C-section. Under no circumstances are you pulling my baby out with forceps or vacuum. I would rather have a C-section. Under no circumstances are you to give my baby formula unless I absolutely cannot produce any milk. We can't get donor milk and my baby is starving and we can't get this done. That is the only way I will allow formula for my baby. I will not allow you to do cord traction on my placenta unless it has been X amount of hours or I am showing signs of hemorrhage and actually like this needs to happen now. It's not happening. That's your hard lines in the sand. Okay. Now that you have that, you're going to have another piece of paper or in your notebook and a list of what you want in your labor. And you're going to put yes, neutral, no. Birth for pushing. Yes, neutral, no. Then you're going to have one for your golden hour, which is the first few hours after birth. Yes, neutral, no. Things that are just for after your baby is born. Yes, neutral, no. Things for your postpartum. Yes, neutral, no. Things for your backup plan, your cesarean. If you do have to have a cesarean or an induction, I like to do an induction plan and a cesarean plan. Yes, neutral, no. Cesarean, yes, neutral, no. You see where I'm going with this, right? You see that? Okay. Now that you have that, now you can fill out your template. And I will see you tomorrow. And I will tell you the rest about how you use your birth plan. All right. Talk to you soon.